Air raid sirens rolled across Liverpool in 1940 as John Lennon arrived into a shaken city. Even as a boy, he learned that noise could drown fear. He clung to jokes, sharp remarks, and the first guitar chords he could control. His parents split and certainty vanished. John drifted between homes and rules, learning to protect himself with distance. At school, he sketched, mocked, and tested limits daily, saving softer feelings for music, where small mistakes could become style. Teenage Liverpool felt tight and hungry, so John went louder. Skiffle groups, smoky rooms, cheap amps, he chased a sound big enough to escape. Crowds gathered not for polish, but for his bite, swagger, and reckless stage charisma. At a church fete, he met Paul McCartney, and the future clicked. Paul's discipline matched John's fire. George followed, then Ringo. They rehearsed like men running from poverty, until Hamburg nights, long sets, and hard lessons forged them. Fame arrived violently. Airports flooded. Girls screamed. Cameras hunted their faces. John smiled on command, but inside he felt owned. Every handshake tightened the trap. Every hotel corridor became a cage, and every encore demanded another piece of him. As the Beatles' sound expanded, John pushed lyrics into darker corners. Authority irritated him. Hypocrisy fueled him. The pressure expanded faster than the music. He searched for exits, chemicals, philosophy, provocation, anything that felt like choice instead of duty. In the late 1960s, cracks widened. Business arguments replaced rhythm. John wanted honesty, not compromise. The studio became battleground and refuge at once. When the band finally ended, the silence hurt, but it also handed him his life back. Love arrived like a spotlight. John met Yoko Ono and felt understood without translation. Together they blurred life and art, turning private emotion into public statement. He stepped from Beatle mythology into something riskier, a man insisting he meant it. Peace campaigns drew attention beyond music. Interviews sharpened. Posters spread. U.S. authorities pushed back. Immigration battles and surveillance shadowed him closely. John refused to soften. He recorded confessions, rage, and tenderness, as if truth could keep him upright. Eventually, exhaustion won. John retreated, choosing fatherhood and routine in New York. Bread baking, morning walks, school runs, he learned quiet. The hunger stayed dormant, not gone. By 1980, it returned, steady and clear, pulling him back to studios. While John rebuilt, Mark David Chapman lived in his own storm. He cycled through jobs, faith, depression, and resentment, collecting fantasies that promised significance. In his mind, a famous man became both mirror and enemy, someone to punish and replace. Chapman's obsession tightened around Lennon's wealth, words, and contradictions. Admiration curdled into grievance. He practiced a story where one act could erase his smallness forever. He bought a Charter Arms .38 revolver, turning private delusion into physical intention. In early December 1980, Chapman flew to New York carrying a gun and the catcher in the rye. He hovered outside the Dakota like a worshiper at a shrine, studying the archway, timing arrivals, rehearsing the moment he couldn't stop. John, meanwhile, felt reborn. He promoted double fantasy, smiled in interviews, and spoke about starting again. On December 8th, he left the Dakota for work, then moved through familiar streets believing the city's routine could still shield him. That afternoon, outside the building, Chapman approached with an album. John paused and signed it. An ordinary kindness in an extraordinary life. Chapman kept the signature like proof. The sidewalk returned to normal, while the plan in his head stayed. Night came. John and Yoko returned from the record plant, carrying the day's last energy. The car stopped at the Dakota entrance. Chapman stepped forward, steady now, raising the revolver. In seconds, the ordinary doorway became an ending. Shots rang out. John staggered into the archway and collapsed. Yoko screamed for help. Doormen and bystanders froze, then surged forward. Chapman did not flee. He stayed nearby, reading his paperback, as if the scene required him to witness it. Police rushed Lennon to Roosevelt Hospital. Doctors tried, but the wounds were fatal. At 40, John Lennon was pronounced dead. Outside, sirens multiplied and strangers gathered, singing into cold air, realizing too late that the voice was gone. Chapman was taken to the NYPD's 20th precinct for hours of questioning, then brought before court and remanded to Bellevue for psychiatric evaluation. The case moved into procedure, but the image stayed brutal. A fan, a gun, a doorway, silence. Across the world, shock spread through radios and televisions. Crowds lit candles, chanting lyrics that now sounded like prayers. In holding rooms, Chapman spoke of God, fame, and purpose, framing murder as mission while grief turned the city rigid. Charged with second-degree murder under New York law, Chapman's lawyers explored an insanity defense as doctors evaluated him. He swung between grand certainty and confusion. The evidence was direct, the timeline clean, and the courtroom would be about responsibility. Months passed. Lennon's absence hardened into permanence. Chapman waited in custody, replaying the night. Lawyers urged an insanity plea. Headlines chased explanations. The case became a pressure chamber where one decision, guilty or not, would shape the ending. On June 22, 1981, Chapman changed course and pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, saying it was God's will. There would be no full trial, no insanity contest. The story narrowed to sentencing, consequence, and the silence left behind. The guilty plea didn't soften anger, it sharpened it. With no cross-examination, no dramatic revelations, people were left with the unbearable plainness. Lennon was gone, and the killer chose certainty over argument, faith over strategy, damage over explanation. In the weeks after the plea, psychiatrists and lawyers argued about Chapman's competence and delusions. Prosecutors stressed planning and attention-seeking. The judge prepared to weigh illness against intent. Outside, fans watched the legal calendar like a second vigil. On the day of sentencing, the courtroom filled with reporters, guards, and tension. Chapman spoke little, then asked to read. He opened the catcher in the rye, studying himself with fiction, while the room waited for the state's final words. Judge Dennis Edwards listened to competing accounts, mental disturbance, calculated ambition, a life stolen. The law could not return Lennon, only close a file. The sentence would become the official ending, even if the world refused to feel finished. On August 24, 1981, the judge sentenced Chapman to 20 years to life in prison and ordered psychiatric treatment during incarceration. The gavel fell, cameras clicked, and the case ended in numbers and paperwork, while John Lennon remained a wound. Outside, the city kept moving past the Dakota's archway, as if motion could dilute memory. Inside, people held on to songs like evidence of a living voice. The killer was locked away. The loss stayed public, immediate, and permanent. The story closes not with peace, but with an outcome. Guilt entered on record, and a life sentence began. One man's journey ended on the pavement. The others continued behind bars, measured in years, denied paroles, and unfinished remorse.
Like and subscribe for more true crime.